Have you ever wondered where the most decisive battles of World War I took place? The answer lies in the Western Front, the chief theater of conflict during the Great War. This was the battleground that saw the most significant clashes between the Allies, France, Britain, and later the United States, and the Central Powers, mainly Germany and Austria-Hungary. The Western Front, a line of trenches stretching from the Swiss border to the North Sea, was the heart of this war. The Western Front was not always a static line of trenches. In the early days of the war, it was a fluid, ever-changing battlefield. Initially, the German forces advanced rapidly into Belgium and northeastern France, following a strategic plan named after its architect, Count Alfred von Schlieffen. The Schlieffen Plan aimed to knock France out of the war quickly, allowing Germany to then focus on Russia. However, the French, with assistance from the British Expeditionary Force, stood strong at the First Battle of the Marne. This fierce confrontation, which took place in early September 1914, halted the German advance and thwarted the Schlieffen Plan. The battle marked a significant turning point in the war, leading to the establishment of trench warfare as the dominant strategy on the Western Front. By the end of 1914, the Western Front had solidified into a deadly stalemate, a line of trenches stretching hundreds of miles. Life in the trenches was a harsh reality for soldiers on the Western Front. Imagine your world reduced to a narrow, muddy ditch, stretching as far as the eye can see. The air is thick with the stench of damp earth and decay, a constant reminder of the grim reality of war. The trenches were not just lines on a map, but a living, breathing hell for those who called them home. Day and night, the thunderous roar of artillery shells was a relentless soundtrack to life in the trenches. Soldiers lived in constant fear and anticipation, never knowing when the next shell would fall. And if the artillery wasn't terrifying enough, there was the ever-present threat of poison gas, a silent, deadly menace that could strike without warning. Major battles like Verdun and the Somme stand as stark reminders of the human cost of this brutal form of warfare. At Verdun, the French and Germans grappled in a deadly stalemate for 10 long months, resulting in an estimated 750,000 casualties. The Battle of the Somme, one of the bloodiest in human history, saw over 1 million men wounded or killed. These battles and many others were testament to the unflinching resolve of the soldiers, who, despite the horrific conditions and the high casualty rates, pressed on. They fought not just for territory, but for survival, for their comrades, for a world beyond the mud and the blood. Despite the horrific conditions and the high casualty rates, neither side could achieve a decisive victory. By 1918, the Western Front was beginning to shift once again. The final year of the war witnessed some of the most momentous offensives. From the Germans launching their spring offensive in March, hoping to break through the Allied lines before American forces could fully arrive, to the Allies responding with their own offensive that would last 100 days. This 100 days offensive, led by the French, British, and American military, was a series of relentless attacks that pushed the German forces back, bit by bit, town by town. But it was on a quiet railway car in the heart of a French forest that the war truly ended. On November 11, 1918, the armistice was signed. The guns fell silent. The once immovable Western Front had finally shifted. The Western Front, once a symbol of the war's stalemate, had finally shifted, bringing an end to the bloodshed. The Western Front was the scene of some of the most brutal and deadly fighting in World War I. Early on, the war's ebb and flow was marked by rapid advances and retreats. But soon, the conflict settled into a grim pattern of trench warfare, a grinding deadlock that stretched along hundreds of miles. In these trenches, soldiers lived in horrific conditions, battling not just the enemy, but also disease, cold, and hunger. Yet, amidst this harsh reality, there were stories of courage and resilience. This stalemate was finally broken by a series of offensives that brought the war to a close, but at a staggering cost. Millions of lives were lost, and landscapes were forever scarred by the ravages of war. In the end, the Western Front was not just a physical line on a map, but a testament to the human capacity for endurance in the face of unimaginable hardship.